to today's PD session on education and post-human era, which will be presented by Dr. Sergio. As you all know, Dr. Sergio is an assistant professor at the Department of English Language and Literature in UTAS, Oman. And he has an international and interdisciplinary background in applied linguistics, TESOL, and educational Middle Eastern and religious studies. Currently, Dr. Sergio is involved in teaching curriculum analysis, researching critical pedagogies, especially for the transformative religious education in the West, and he is reviewing quality assurance processes in higher education. The floor is yours, Dr.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to all of you. I will not turn my camera on because the signal is terrible today in the college. It's being on and off all the time, and you know my face already. So let me start. What I'm going to say is like setting the scene to start thinking about this and to understand, to start thinking how to think about this. Let me project 5%. Okay. So let me say, my aim is to generate thinking, especially because we're at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences, and I will do it from my own background. So I do not pretend that this will definitely represent you, and how you appropriate this will have to be done by you, okay? So I will just speak from my perspective. It'll be very Sergio. Good, these are the points, and I hope I will cover. So what do we have? We are talking, setting the scene. Why are we talking about this? Because the world is not that the world is changing, the world has already changed. I will just show you this quickly so that you can see.
AOR is the subject of increased net chatter. Possible IEDs. Keep a sharp eye. Over.
Delta 1, your AR is updated. Proceed as instructed.
Switch to AR. Target's located.
Roger.
Let's go.
Ma'am, that cell phone could be her trigger.
That's all I need to see, Lieutenant. Shut her down.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we already live in a world with augmented reality that exists in warfare, that is being developed now even in medicine.
Virtual reality is when you put on a set of goggles. You can be placed on something like planet Mars. HoloLens is an augmented reality system. You can actually see through the goggles, but then what it has is another set of lenses that project another image, which is the hologram.
Right now, we use these loops, and all they are magnifying glasses, really to augment our reality by magnifying it. With the HoloLens, it does the same thing, but to the next degree.
So let's say that we have a patient on the table and we want to do some type of intervention. Using augmented reality, we can superimpose data onto that patient, say their CAT scan or MRI.
And putting them all together and integrating them to really come up with this virtual three-dimensional see-through model.
The technology itself could be pretty game-changing. There are a tremendous number of ways that you can actually use augmented reality to help patients.
What we're developing in the lab is microwave ablation of cancerous tumors in the lungs using HoloLens. So it's a way of guiding the surgeon to the target without using radiation.
If you're able
Okay, so I'm talking about posthumanism. So now I want to show some elements why we are starting to talk, why people are starting to talk about post-human. So the first thing here is augmented reality is already there, and the cyborg. For those of you who like Star Trek, you will probably remember the cyborg.
Who are you?
I am the Borg.
That is a contradiction. The Borg have a collective consciousness. There are no individuals.
I am the beginning, the end, the one who is many.
So, of course, the idea of a cyborg is cybernetics, an organism in a connection, a new way, a kind of unity between mechanics, between technology, and between the body, a living organism. And at that time, we didn't have this, but nowadays we are getting there. For example, some people say, have we already become part cyborg? Some people say yes, already. How, for example, people with the pacemaker, there you have nature, you have the body of a human being, but the body of a human being is working in conjunction with technology, with a pacemaker. And now even an eye, they're working on like bionic eyes, whereby a person who couldn't see now can see something. Why? Because technology is working together with the body. But this is different. I mean, of course, this we've had that before. Ever since human beings discovered fire and how to make fire, they have been using technology to do whatever they want. But technology is becoming not anymore. It's not on the outside anymore. It's becoming part of the human. It's symbiosis with the body, with the human. For example, that's another issue.
There's actually.
So I'm gonna go all the way there. So yeah, we have another aspect
So
is.
These cuts are a little bit small on me, but here it is. You can actually see that kidney as it was printed earlier today.
So 3D printing we had before organ transplants. Now they're working on actually printing organs with their own DNA. They are built, they are custom made, whereby the body will never reject them. But it's another way in which nature and technology are becoming one. And we have cases such as this, for example. This is a natural case.
Found frozen because of a doctor who decided to forego the miracle. This guy's alive and well. Like you said, no heartbeat. He had, of course, no. But ABC.
Here we have
TJ Holmes.
A natural case of a man who had a little accident. Let's say he was frozen in snow, and after that he was taken to hospital and he was resurrected in a way. This is not natural. I mean, they didn't change his heart, but they got his heart pumping again. They warm it up, they warm him up, and they got him, as you can see, pumps and warming. So that man was dead, and now he's alive again. Nothing super extraordinary, but it's one more step. So we are not only defining organs, we are not only breaching the divide between technology and ourselves and our bodies, but people now are starting to work on the redefinition of death. So this will be, let me see, yes, this one. A new industry.
So behind this stainless steel, there are patients.
One day it will be normal medicine. There's a huge potential for this to grow.
You know, I just want to yell at the entire world, don't you get it? You're going to die.
I actually did physically hold my father's brain in my hands.
The idea of reanimating heads or bodies in a century is wishful thinking.
I want to live until tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm going to want to live until the day after tomorrow, and I believe that this desire will continue indefinitely.
So there you are. Then we have another. Let me see. Yes. Then we have another way in which the natural is being redefined, and it is the issue of mortality. People are targeting an era in which people do not have to die. Of course, probably if you blow them up, they will die, but they will not have to die because of nature. And so we are at an age where we are talking about human existence in ways that have never been there before. But to talk about post-human, we have to also concentrate on the human part of humanism. What is that humanism that we are moving away from? So here we have a very Western representation of the place and nature of human beings. Of course, it's Christian and it is in the Vatican. I don't. Anyway, so what you see here, this is the creation. So you have on the left, you have Adam, and you have on the right the representation of God and angels, and here there is a woman who might be Eve or might be Mary, depending. But the concentration has been, people have concentrated on this, on the two fingers. So they're almost touching each other. And the question is, are they moving towards each other? Are they going to touch each other, or are they moving away from each other? And this reflects, culturally speaking, the position of human beings in the world as we perceive it, and this goes back centuries. If we move towards God, then this is the belief that human beings are almost the closest to God on earth. We are God's reflection. If you want to see anything that is like God on earth, look at human beings. And that's a powerful image. On the other hand, if you think that the fingers are moving away from each other, then you can see that the creature is becoming emancipated from God or the gods or the divine or nature. So either we are the crown of nature, or we are moving away from nature, or we are the crown of God's creation, or we are moving away from that idea of creation. The human being is not happy being a servant. And this is a little bit at the basis of humanism. In philosophy, there have been different ages, different periods, and then we came to the human period. But there has been this idea that we are central. Human beings believe that we, not all human beings, but big majority, have always believed that we are central. For example, sometimes when I'm eating, I tell my wife, "I'm so sorry to have to kill the cow to eat," and she would always say, "Yes, but all the things are there for us to enjoy." So this is the idea of human centrality. We have this cultural idea, which is found also in our religions and philosophies, that the world is there for us. And secondly, the idea of exceptionalism. Like, you can think, for example, why a lot of people get offended by the idea of us having evolved from primates. And that is because we are exceptional. How can a chimpanzee or a bonobo be related to us and us to them? We are exceptional. And there are many ideas in our cultures, the idea of another life or resurrection, or even in the world, we have this idea that we are central and we are exceptional. So this is intrinsic to to humanism. And in the West, you have the idea of the fall. I'm using this because these cultural ideas, they encapsulate moods, generational moods, centuries old. So you have the idea of the fall, but actually, I'm talking about, I told you, I'm speaking as a Westerner based on Western culture. Adam and Eve, even in culture, they actually become human when they fall. As long as they were in paradise, they were these beings that are not human as we are. So the human being actually comes into being with the fall, not with creation. In creation, it's like, culturally speaking, they are closer to angels than to human beings. But what does that mean? And again, I'm doing a cultural reading. I'm not doing theology now. You have the element of learning. The human being starts a process of learning. Human beings suddenly discover themselves, and in Western culture, they see that they are naked and they cover, because the process of discovery starts. And also the process of reflection, and you see this in language and thinking. And there is also the element of autonomy, because then they can make a decision. Before, they could only choose the good. If you only choose what is good, then you don't have decision powers. You're like, say, if you're a fish, and you say, oh, the fish chose to be in the water. He didn't choose. He has to be in water. There is no choice. So when there is real choice, which means when one can go wrong, autonomy starts. So the fall, the cultural idea of the fall encapsulates the idea that human beings learn, also that human beings can make choices, and therefore they have the sense of freedom, but also the libertinism, which is the wrong freedom gone too far. And then we have also the rule over others. So we have the idea of leadership. If we can choose, we choose leaders. And then colonialism, that is going too far. And then rule of the world. We are in the world, we are like the heads of the world, but we can also go too far and abuse nature. And then they also discover agency. Agency in many ways. So as created beings, they procreate, so they generate. They become co-creators. Co-creators also through work, through art, through collaboration. Recreators, technology and as mimicking nature and taking it a step further. And also destruction. So that's why even in the Bible, you have the story of Adam and Eve, and immediately after that, you have Cain and Abel. Which show destruction starting. And therefore, with humanism, this idea that we are central to everything and that we are exceptional and different from everything gives us the right to colonize. We colonize the earth, we colonize other human beings, and we colonize complete ecosystems. Why? Because we are central, everything is there for the taking, for our taking, and everything is there for us to use and even abuse. So we could say most animals, or animals in general, and plants, they live within nature. They follow the dictates of nature. Whereas us, it is the opposite. We have come to the point whereby nature exists within culture. For example, when you are driving in Germany or you're driving in Norway, you will see trees and you will see so many things, but those things, yeah, are there, but are there now in the way that human beings have domesticated them. We change everything. We go through mountains, we destroy mountains, we build cities in the sand. So this is part of humanism. Humanism is that being that has made nature to live in its own environment and not the other way around. But of course, not long ago, there were some wake-up calls. The first wake-up call for us Westerners, it was around the Second World War. The Second World War with Nazi genocide in Germany and Poland, the Russian gulags in Russia, of course, and the American atom bombs in Japan. So yes, we are central, we are exceptional, but when you believe that you are so wonderful, and then you see this done by such wonderful human beings as yourself, you get a bit of a shock. And then one has to accept, I'm not so wonderful. I say that animals, I'm not an animal. I wish I was an animal, because if I was an animal, I would have not caused this. And so there was the wake-up call. Another wake-up call is the call of having left planet Earth. When we left planet Earth, and when people took pictures of Earth, you can see how small we are. How our planet is small in that huge hole. And secondly, how small and probably how alone we are. And not only alone, of course, then the questions start, are we alone? Because you see, if we are suddenly not alone, then we are not even central. And we might not be so exceptional. So posthumanism has to deal with this. And then we go into the idea that the awareness of the Anthropocene, which is the geological phase of the planet, where human beings have become a force. It's not climate, it's not the sun, it's not earthquakes, it's human beings. So one of those beings, one family of beings on Earth can actually affect the whole planet. And this is a new phase. This is a new geological phase. We have become a geological force. And we know temperatures will continue to rise and changes and so forth and so forth. So we cannot go back. It is not something that we can say, okay, we destroy the mountain, we will build another one. So this is to the point that now people are saying that even because of all the climatic things that we have caused, even apparently that is even make the Earth tilt. So we're really a force to be reckoned with. But the question is, are we so wonderful? Are we really so wonderful? We are central, we think, until Corona comes, and then we are not so central, and we think we are exceptional, but we are also exceptionally bad. So people started demanding change. The problem is that very often everything changes so that nothing changes. And this is a little bit the aim of this talk, to make us think about this. Everything might be changing, but the roots of things might not be changing at all. They might remain the same, which brings me back to my student days. This is the Brazilian flag, and the Brazilian flag says Ordem e Progresso. It means order and progress. But order and progress are almost opposites. You cannot have progress without disorder. Something has to be broken. And you cannot have everything fixed. If you do have everything absolutely fixed, and fixed in the sense of repaired and stable, then there is no progress. So these are almost like two contradictory terms. We want order and we want progress, but there is no progress without disorder. It's like say, yes, so changes, we want, very many people want changes, but without change. And we do that is also in education. Look at the dynamic, and you will see that it doesn't really change. Everything changes, but the same dynamic is at work. Here you have the labor condition is the factory, the school is a copy of the factory. Why? Of course, because school prepares the workers. So the workers have to be prepared in the way they will have to work. But therefore the dynamic is there. And when we move on, we think that everything is different. MashaAllah, we are so modern now. We're not modern, we're doing the same thing. Why did education change? Because the labor market changed. So we changed everything, but nothing has changed. The same forces, the same dynamics, the same rules, and the rules are centrality and exceptionalism. And therefore, like in the old days, education just perpetuated social relationships, and now, even though lovely with Zoom and smart boards and blah blah blah, but we are perpetuating the same social relationships. And here you have Mumbai, a picture of Mumbai, two sides of Mumbai, the winners and the losers. And education perpetuates this. It makes it easier, yes, there may be less poverty, but the dynamic is the same. And what is then humanism? Humanism is this philosophy that we are privileged human beings. We are so privileged that even the gods cannot ignore us. Whatever culture you go to, you will see that the gods are somehow obsessed with what we do or we don't do. We are so privileged, so exceptional, so exceptional. From all the things in the universe, it seems that we are the one thing that everybody is so happy or upset about. And humanism encapsulates this idea of privilege. And we have on the one side the idea of greed, and this idea of endless development, endless growth. So all companies want to grow by billions and billions every year. If you have a business and you are not continually growing your business, you are failing. But this is part of the problem, is the idea of privilege, and that the two hands of privilege are greed. I want the privileges. I don't really want to change the system. I want to make enough changes so that I am part of the system that is privileged. For example, it's not that I don't want to have rich people in the world. No, I want to be one of them. And this is part of it's like when we had the colonial period in the West. Spain had colonies. Of course, Britain wanted colonies, and France wanted colonies. Even Italy wanted colonies. How can it be? All my neighbors have colonies, and me here don't have a colony. So where did they go? Libya and Ethiopia. Why? Because you have to have a colony. So this idea of privilege that comes with greed and insecurity. Why? Because this is a psychological strategy. When you have something, you want to have more, and at the same time, you are afraid of losing it. That's why it's almost impossible to be happy through having, because through having, we want more, and wanting makes us unhappy. And when we have it, we are insecure, we are afraid, we might lose it, somebody may take it from us, therefore we are unhappy. And having is just a recipe for unhappiness, because it comes with greed, which actually means I am empty, and I shouldn't be empty, and then when I am full, I am not happy because I'm full. And this is part of humanism. It engenders paranoia, it engenders strategies to control, because look at the world. The rich countries don't want to lose their richness. So they will have to do things to make sure that their richness don't go away to China, or don't go away to Africa, or don't go, and so forth. So people have tried to come up with new paradigms, but you cannot change the roots unless you disrupt. You cannot bring change by making little changes. Therefore, one big moment of change was the Declaration of Human Rights. This is a new paradigm. It's like not only some human beings have rights, let's say the white Europeans who colonized the world, but now every human being has rights. So this was an attempt, both in the West as in the Islamic world. The problem is this a new narrative, a new root metaphor? Are we thinking and acting in this way, or are we just wishful thinking, thinking about things that are not going to happen? So there were new pedagogies, critical, that wanted to combine thinking and doing. Not only knowing, but thinking about knowledge, thinking about the knowledge production processes, thinking about the knowledge sharing processes. And what do we do with this? How do we make society more just? How do we give everybody more agency, the power to do, to act? And how do we share power and privilege? And we have many different schools, of course, as you know from all the courses that we teach, you know, critical social theories, liberatory education, blah, 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 blah. There are many, feminist, post-structuralists, and so forth. So, for example, here we are, again, from the feminist point of view, they would say that in humanism, the human in humanism is actually has a wide male face. You want to know what humanism is the face of the white man who thinks that he is central to history and he is so exceptional that all other civilizations may be dominated by him. And what happens to women? Yes, white women were also not man, not human. They were not fully human. And when you were a non-white woman, you were not a woman at all, you were just a female. So we have societies where the man is the head, and the male and and women are only female, meaning they are just for marriage and for children. But for example, they cannot even pass on the nationality to their children, or it's the man that is the real human in the society. So especially the white man. And of course, not every white man is like this, because there are also poor white men who live on the streets. But it's this image of the white man. And then comes the real now with post-humanism. So what we see is the biggest enemy we face is anthropocentrism. Is the idea that the anthropos, the man, the human being, is central. And that everything on earth is there for us, and only for us. And now we start coming to the idea of the post-human. Why this thinking? Because they say this is just past history, for very different reasons. Why? Because of technology, because of climate change. We are no longer central. We could just disappear. And we are not so exceptional. In fact, what technology is telling us is that some machines can do a lot of things better than we can. And in the long run, we will definitely not be exceptional. So you have different ways of thinking as within the post-human discourse. You have people who are thinking about post and transhumanity. We are here, but we are just on the way out. Not that we are all going to die, but something new is coming. And that new thing will be better than us. Better at being good and better at being bad. That's another question. Then we also have some other people that say, okay, finally we are getting to an age. We will go beyond post-anthropocentrism. We will start thinking beyond ourselves. We will discover the world, animals, plants, as partners, for example, on the planet. We will start thinking in terms of ecosystems. We are here, we can do some things, but we're not the center of things. Things are not here for us only. And then you have also another current that sees this as an opportunity for a society post-privilege. So if we don't know anymore what being a human will be in say 50 years, with all the technology and making human organs and artificial intelligence and cyborg and all those things. So some people say, okay, this gives us the chance to go beyond these categories, to go beyond this human, not human, man, woman, male, female, white, non-white. So there, as you can see, there are different currents within the thought. Those, number one, post and transhumanity, some of those are really going mad because they, of course, you can think of all the things that we could do, even if it means the end of humanity. But they are really excited by the possibility that maybe we can produce Robocop, that we can produce Superman, that we can produce the cyborg. So that's one trend. But what some people say, what we are going beyond humanism as we have known, doesn't mean that we have, or the system or society or the world has to become inhuman or inhumane. So there are certain things that we have to think about: science, technology, ecology, decision making. There are several elements that have become more important than ever. There will be new facts, there will be new hypotheses, there will be new theories. Artificial intelligence will change everything. In biology, things are going to change. First, because people will be able to play or engineer the DNA. So if you engineer the DNA, like we engineer plants to be insect resistant or to be drought resistant, we can also actually, by doing this, the result might be a new improved model of human beings. And there are ethical questions, and there are questions about that. And also there is the element, when we go to Mars, it's not if, but when we go to Mars and people start living there, so we know that biology adapts itself to the environment, and biology develops and evolves. So if biology has evolved differently on Earth because of changing contexts, it could be that in the long run, there will be the human beings that decide to go and live on Mars, they evolve in different ways than those who remain on Earth will do. This all sounds like science fiction, but believe me, science fiction has become more reality than other fictitious or imaginative schemes of thought. And so the question, this is the question for us. So I didn't want to start with pedagogy, I wanted to end with pedagogy. So if all this is going on, and we are a university of technology and applied sciences, which are at the heart of the passage from humanism to post-humanism, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue talking about rubrics? Are we going to continue talking like essays are the most important things on earth that we should be talking about? Or are we somehow institutionally going to join the conversation? What is at stake is the new phase of humankind, of the humankind, is the new. So are we going to be part of the discussion? Are we going to be just consumers? Some other people will discuss, they will create the terms, they will define the terms of reference for this new era, and we will just sit and say, thank you very much. Yes, we will follow your model. Therefore, this means that as a teaching institute, as a research institute, we should be aware and we should be part of it. The legal dimension, the philosophical dimension, the ethic. I know we are technology and applied sciences, but we cannot not have a department of humanities. Because technology is not just to go and get oil out of the earth. Technology is to change the face of the earth. So we cannot have technology that lack a philosophical dimension to our university. So, for example, here I'm just hinting at things. How can we be part of the conversation if we are not part of the conversation? How can we be part of the conversation if we are not talking about these things? And then we have the curriculum. What kind of curriculum do we need to actually prepare our students for what's going to come, to help them be part of the conversation? Some people are doing things. For example, here you see artificial intelligence certification program that was held in Muscat. Then we have KAUST in Saudi Arabia. They're already into computational bioscience research. They're into nanofabrication, artificial intelligence initiative. We have our neighbors. They have recently established a university for artificial intelligence, and they have sent a piece of machinery to Mars, and their goal is to have a city over there within 500 years. So things are happening. The conversation is not something in London or New York. Some people are joining the conversation. But again, my question is the same. Are we going to join the conversation as consumers, or are we going to join the conversation as part of the people who produce the terms of reference for the conversation? Qatar also. And so to do this, we cannot do this unless we think outside the box, unless we are outside it. If we stay in the box, we will stay within humanism, and the world will go beyond, and we will be consumers once again. Therefore, we should identify the people who can go into this in the different areas of this: the legal side, the philosophical side, the theological side, the scientific, technological, biological. We have here biology, physics, cosmology, chemistry. They're all the blocks of posthumanism. How are we involved in this discussion? So I will, with this I'm getting to the end. So we have to have, this is a plea. We must generate an institution, and we are lucky because we are a new institution, and that is flexible, that is inclusive, that is collaborative. In terms of knowledge, in terms of opportunities, in terms of decision making, that is realist, pragmatic, and idealist. Because I say again, if we just go into the post-human time with the idea of privilege for some, because privilege is only for some, otherwise it's not a privilege. So privilege for some, and the rest, yeah, you will be our servants. We are not changing the paradigm. Changes are happening, but no real change is actually being brought about. For the curricula, we cannot be like an ostrich and put our head in the sand. Our curricula has to be very realistic. What is going on? Nothing is off limits. Nothing is censored. Nothing is a taboo thing. If it is a key idea, if it's a key development, we cannot be absent. We cannot be absent. Otherwise, we will be like the Neanderthals. We will be the ones that died on the side. We have to have a curriculum that is very robust, very open-minded, very critical, and that is producing a knowledge base. We have to have avant-garde research and engineering. We should have communication and collaboration skills, because we have to join the global conversation and the debates. So we need to be able to debate. Digital citizenship. This is like knowing ABC. Multi-identity literacy. This is a new thing. Now, maybe you don't have a lot of friends like I do who are into this. Believe me, it's almost impossible talking. Yesterday, I read an article with by a friend of mine. She lost me along the way. Why? Because now it's the whole issue of identity. You're a woman, but you're a white woman, or you're not a white woman, or you're an Asian woman, but born in the West, or you are, I don't know, heterosexual, or you're this, or you're that. It's almost impossible to talk, but this is a reality of the world. With post-humanism comes hybridity. Hybrid. The idea of nature has becoming eroded. Why? We can remake nature. And we are remaking nature. Just like think about the bodies that are being remade. You have the nice remaking that everybody likes, like Botox. And then you have gender reassignment. Like it's also happening, but it's the same philosophy. If you accept Botox, the changing of the human makeup, if we accept heart transplant, if we accept liver transplant, if we accept that people don't die, that we keep them in life, if we accept dialysis, when nature is saying these kidneys are ready for death, we say no, we go into dialysis. So if we are readjusting nature, where is the limit? There is no longer any limit. So we need to be part of the discussion so that the terms of reference for all these changes are terms of references that do not go for privilege, do not go for colonization as we did before. Which, of course, you think why people go to Mars? Because they want to colonize Mars if possible and get all the minerals without having to worry about who owns what. So we need this, and we need authentic critical thinking and philosophy across tertiary education. Otherwise, we will all be robots who don't think. So as I say, even though we are technology and applied sciences, we cannot miss the humanities. We cannot miss ethics. We cannot miss philosophy. We cannot think all this deontological discourse. And for the academic culture, we shouldn't just go for changes that will give us privilege. I think this is the ethical part of this. We should go for an attitude that does not just follow the markets. We still need ideals. Human exceptionality should not be in terms of power. It should be in terms of kindness, in terms of solidarity, in terms of beauty, in terms of creativity for good things. This is what should make us exceptional. Therefore, we need also spiritual, this is my plea from the religious part of you, I'm also involved in religious education, to create spiritual ecosystems, not based on privilege, like paradise is only ours, or this is only ours. Those ecosystems belong to the past. We need to have spiritual ecosystems that go beyond privilege. We cannot anthropomorphize God and religion. We need to go into the post-human era and come out better than we did in the humanistic era. And just to finish with something thought-provoking, this is a well-known passage, and the question for me is, who will be right in the end? Are we going to say that the angels were right, and we indeed are people who spread mischief and shed blood and seek privilege at all costs? Or is there anything that God knows? Do we have some qualities in us that go beyond all the evil that we can create, all the privilege, all the colonialism, all the power, all the disaster, all the domination, all the people whose identities we have made collapse and crash? Is there anything in us that can really say that the angels were wrong? And we are at the moment in history when we have to prove this. So I believe there is hope, but it will not be what we think, and it will not be like what we knew, but the question is the paradigm. If we continue with this paradigm of privilege, we will be the same, only in augmented reality. And this is very important for education, because education is not just to give tools, it's to make students think. What are these tools for? Who benefits from them? What do we destroy with them? What did we destroy to create the tools? So this is a fascinating era. We will probably not be there, because I don't think that they will defeat death before we die. But I think our students need to be aware. This is the world that they have been born into, and it is not new. It started with the first human being who discovered fire and started using fire to cook. By doing that, he or she changed nature, the natural way of doing things, and culture started its emergence. So up to now, this is all I wanted to share. And as I told you, the goal of this lecture was not to suggest a pedagogy, but to get us thinking so that we join the conversation. Okay, this is it. Do you have questions? Do you have reactions? Are there things you would like to share?
I have addition to that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sergio, for this interesting, topic talk. Sorry, Mr. Qasim, I took over. It's really interesting, and it's really very hectic to think about the philosophy from the beginning up to the leading. That was very, very, very interesting and very coherent way to get us into that topic, and it is really critical to think out of the box. Participants are most welcome to ask any question, so we've got only 5 minutes to do so. Thank you very much, Dr. Sergio. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dr. Yes, Fatma, you had a question.
I don't have a question, but I have addition to that.
Yes.
I think that we have to teach the new generation how to deal with changes skill, because changes happen, and this is something inevitable, but we don't know what the future hides for us. So as many pedagogical experts argue that we should switch to teaching the 4 C's, which is critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. This is the minor change that we can do nowadays.
Yes, Fatma, absolutely. I'm happy to hear it from you, because you will be the next generation. I am the dying generation. I'm not old, but I mean, you are the next generation. I'm closer to retirement than to continue. And so I do think so. I mean, things are going on, and they're going so quickly. Everything is happening so quickly, so fast. We are not aware of so many things. So we cannot miss the train, as it were. We have to be on the train. We have to be part of the conversation. And we cannot continue as business as usual. And like the most wonderful thing that we can create is rubrics or something. It has already started. It has already started. And we have to be part of it. Yes? Anybody else? Otherwise, it's time to finish, because people have to go and teach and so forth.
Well, thank you very much again. If there is no question, thank you very much indeed, and we're looking forward another session. Thank you very much, Dr. Sergio. Definitely, this session should be followed up by another one. That's clarify things more. What exactly to be implemented in the teacher education, in particular, in terms of pedagogy, and in terms of of applying this in our teacher education in particular, because as you said, our training teachers will take over, inshallah, in the school. Yes. So thank you very much.
And we have biologists. We have biologists in the house, chemists, and I think I would really want to hear what they have to say. what I am not even aware of from the point of view of the sciences. Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Bye.